What is up? Welcome to me Duole podcast, episode 85. I'm Stuart Anderson. This is our interview with Jason Cook. Grateful to have Jason on here, as well as Jake, his brother. The three of us really dig into the nitty-gritty of what makes Jason Cook tick. Grateful for everything that he shared and thankful for his example. And these two brothers, they are one of a kind. Grateful for their brotherly love, and you'll especially hear it and see it on the podcast today, how special this relationship is that they have. So super grateful for Jason and his friendship, everything that he brings to the team. This is one of the best podcasts to kind of learn about a team member in this group who truly does good, gives back, and makes us better in every way. So hopefully you enjoy this podcast with Jason Cook. Grateful for him, thankful for his sponsorship of the team, not only through Epic Ventures, but also through the Burbage Foundation, which also supports the team financially. So grateful for those things. As I mentioned in the last podcast, a plea to the team and anyone else listening, please sign up for the 5 Canyons Bike Challenge, our event that we're hosting on August 19th. On meduole.com, you will see the tab on the upper right-hand corner to get all the information that you need about the event, to sign up, and specifically as a member of the team, if you would like to contribute financially or help us in any way, we are looking for all hands on deck to help run the event on August 19th. So please join us for the 5 Canyons event coming up. All right, that's it. Enjoy this podcast with Jason Cook. Bye. All right, welcome everybody. Greetings. I'm Stuart Anderson, joined by brothers Cook, Jake and Jason. Greetings, young men.
Howdy. Great to be here, guys.
It is good to be here. We are episode 85, Jason Cook. He's honored or offended. We couldn't decide whether it's taken this long or not. I mean, I guess that's how everybody feels at this point, right? I don't know.
I'm honored.
We're honored. It is. It's an honor. It truly is an honor. So it is June 7th. So whenever you're hearing this, we're going to Butterfield tomorrow. Are either of you joining?
I'll let Jason respond first.
Jason?
I mean, that's like a 4:30 wake-up call for me. I'm going to go ahead and say my wife's got Pilates at 7, right? So I'm probably out.
Butterbean Canyon. Okay. Jake, any chance?
I'm on the fence.
Okay.
I don't know. If I'm there, I'm there. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Great. Very good.
I think I have some PTSD from last time we wrote that. I got stuck with Adam Barker, and we got lost out in Butterfield, out by the mine somewhere.
Oh, I remember that. Coming home.
That? And we got stuck in this massive headwind, and I was just like, and Barker obviously lives far, closer to Butterfield than I do, so he peeled off and left me all alone coming across 9th East by myself. Just
2020 was a traumatic year for everybody.
It was.
Try to forget those experiences.
Yeah. But you loved the butter, I'm sure.
Yeah, Mr. Buttersworth, Butterbean, Buttercream gang. We are honored today to have Jason with us. If you didn't know, I'll just do a brief introduction here, but Jake has a more formal introduction. The brothers Cook, if you didn't know it, sponsor your team as an official sponsor with money, if you didn't know that, and have for years. They do not put the logo or look for accolades for that kind of donation. So not only am I grateful for all they do to support us with their presence, but these boys are all in. And for that, I'm very grateful, thankful to hear Jason's story today, even though I remember, Jason, finding out how much younger you were than me, and it was upsetting. I'll be honest.
Hey, when I'm as young as you guys are, I hope I'm still riding my bike.
I mean, I really don't feel old, but then when I find out how young some of you guys are, I'm like, F this. You guys are young.
Young and reckless, baby.
What is your age, Jason?
29.
That's incredible. Okay, very good. Jake, do you want to proceed? Any announcements I'm missing? We do have tip pickup and team picture. Any thoughts on that, gentlemen? Anybody want to?
No, I think it's a fun time. Team picture is great, right? I mean, obviously, wear your red kits. Do not show up in a white, a yellow, a black kit. make sure it's a red kit. If you don't have a red kit, myself, Stu, I'm sure we can rally up the troops to find you a red kit or a red jersey. But super fun experience to be a part of the team and get that picture. And special shout out to, Adam Barker for taking the time to do that. Good man.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. And you can wear like the design from this year's red
for sure,
or 2021's red. They're the same. So either one works. Yeah. Okay. Sugar House Park, 7:00, June 29th. Very good. Jason, thoughts on that? You going to bring any add-ons to the picture, something to sneak in to the side?
Nope. So, I'm trying to grow out of that, Stu. Me being 29. I'm almost 30. I got to grow out of that.
Why? Keeps me young. It always makes me laugh. So
tame the beast.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay. Jake, we have a beautiful introduction to your brother written by Jason's wife, Bryn. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, special shout out to Bryn, an absolute perfect sister-in-law, and grateful for that she was able to put this together for Jason, and literally almost brought me to tears just reading it, as he's such a good man. I'm just, again, special shout out to Jason, grateful to be on this podcast with him and be a part of it. But
dude, you can't get emotional. We're 2 minutes into this. Come on.
I know. Okay. Well, let's get into it. When Jason and I started dating, my little brothers would tease me, asking why I was dating a guy who felt all too comfortable in tight spandex biking shorts.
Mm-hmm.
I think they hoped this would be a short fling, considering that spandex weren't exactly cool to two younger teenager boys. Fast forward 8 years, and now they don't think twice about the spandex and have accepted this simply as a personality trait of their brother-in-law, who they look up to and respect lots. I learned early on that Jason is unapologetically himself, spandex and all.
Heck yes.
Always in spandex. Jason grew up in the Harvard Yale area of Salt Lake City. He is one of 5 children and has a special bond with each of his siblings. Having to keep up with an older brother, some of you may know him, who was big and fast and athletic. He was pushed in ways he probably wouldn't have been pushed otherwise. He was small but mighty. The size of the fight in this small dog was huge. This ended up paying off as he excelled athletically at East High and beyond. He was a varsity soccer captain 2 years in a row, football captain, and played quarterback his senior year, leading the team to the state finals. He truly could have played any sport and done well. Jason is a natural leader. There is a humble confidence in which Jason carries himself, and it shows in how he interacts with people. So true.
Very true.
He makes others feel important and comfortable, striking up conversations easily while genuinely interested in their lives. He leads quietly without wanting the spotlight. Jason loves reading, snow skiing, water skiing, trail running, and a big adrenaline junkie at heart. He feels more comfortable at doing some kind of complex flips off any 60-foot cliff. It's going to happen this weekend. Rather than jumping off and just jumping and used to spend hours in the train park perfecting crazy ski tricks. All these things come naturally to him. Jason went on to graduate in finance from the University of Utah and now works for a local venture capital firm, Epic Ventures.
Another shout out, team sponsor. Another shout out, team sponsor. Another shout out. Thank you,
team sponsor.
Thank you, dude. You're double dipping on team sponsorship. That's unheard of. Very good.
I want something in return. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I get plenty in return.
Sorry.
No, you could. His passion for cycling began in his early college years. I think he would say that the 3 things that helped him develop a deep love for the sport were his LDS mission to the Netherlands, where there are more bikes than cars, Creighton's riders, and his brother Jake, who introduced him to the Duole crew. Combining the simple joy that being in the saddle brings with the pure physical grit, mental toughness, early mornings, dedication, challenging climbs, sunrise rides, and friendships that come with it, he really has fallen in love. Not just with the sport of cycling, but with Duole and the people who make up Duole. Jason has competed in countless races, including Lodja, Saints and Sinners, Tour de St. George, Crusher in the Tusher, and the Wasatch All Road, and his version of the Ultimate Challenge. He loves competing, but he loves people in his relationships with those people even more. All the things that come naturally to Jason, his role of a father, has come most natural. He was born to be the girl dad he is to our 1-year-old Luisa. Recently, his morning bike rides have started with early earlier with some fewer and farther between since stepping into this role. Yet somehow he still hits personal goals, personal records, and pushes himself to become his best self, both on and off the bike. Jason is constant, resilient, happy, fun, passionate, loyal, kind, strong, genuine, and just the plain old good. If you know him, you love him. His girls feel they're so lucky to be on the ride of life alongside him.
That's it. Let's wrap it up. We're done. That's all we needed. What was it like? What was it like to write your own bio, Jason?
Oh, I mean, it took me hours.
Nice job, Jake. That was so good.
Apologize,
Jeez. Man, if there's any wives listening, Bryn's winning. This was incredible. Any thoughts there?
We should just get her in here.
Right.
She's the better half.
Holy cow. So good, dude. Any thoughts on it? Jason, anything stand out there you want to say?
I mean, there was one line that just stood out to me, and I know we'll get into it with talking about me Duole, and just naturally with writing. But, you know, I think it's that last line where in the second last paragraph, which is, I love competing, right? I think that's pretty natural. And it's a custom in our family and kind of how we were raised, just to always compete. But what I found more enjoyable and what I've just found to really love is the people and the relationships that come out of those types of competitions and the time I spend with them. So I think that is very well correlated with kind of the Duole team and each of you and the friendships and camaraderie and what I've been able to get out of it. It's far more beyond than just a competition or racing at this point.
Yeah, so good. I agree with this paragraph here about being a athlete. Holy moly, you guys were blessed with athletic genes. Come on. Do you guys ever remember when I created the quiz of guess whose thigh it is? The multiple choice. Do you remember that quiz I created?
I remember.
It's always just fun to stack Jason's legs against everyone else's. Congratulations for that. Lovely.
Oh, it's all the baby oil, the tanning oil.
And everyone guessed it, dude. That was the funny part.
That was the best part.
But Stu, seriously, you know where some of that comes from, not the legs in general, but just I think that, you know, I'll always remember this, and I'm only going to say this because Jake's on here with us. So we were big high school soccer players. Jake, I think, as you've already know and had heard in his podcast previously, that he's the natural. Dude, I would show up as an 8th grader or 7th grader, and I'd show up to these high school soccer practices that him and Matt Ryder were all a part of. And these guys would put all this tanning oil all on their legs. And I just remember from that point on, like being this little young kid, I was like, you're doing it. Like, it's the cool thing to do. So I'm going to start doing it and make sure I take care of my legs, shaving them, put tanning oil on.
Buttering them up. Butter leg canyon. We're going tomorrow.
Baby oil and all, baby.
I love it, dude. So good. Hey, Jace, let's hear it from you. Do you want to just talk a little bit about your childhood, family sports, how you grew up?
Yeah, I think Bryn did a good job. Like, born and raised here in Salt Lake, grew up a big Utah football fan, still am. Childhood just filled with sports, and Jake can attest to this as well, right? I think we all individually played tons of sports. If we weren't playing, we were watching our other siblings play. I can't tell you how many times I got dragged to games, right? I think that's just kind of natural. Being a younger sibling in a family of 5, you're just frequently on a field or attending a game. Family of 7, we 3 sisters and 1 average brother, and then just the incredible mom and dad that we have. I'm the second youngest, so I always like to say that I was the favorite until our little sister joined. I'll share one quick fun memory again with Jake here, just growing up, and I'm actually interested to see if he can remember this. There's this picture of us that we shared during my wedding, where we're both young. I must have been like, I don't know, Jake, 8 or 9. You have to keep me honest. And we wore these plastic football helmets. I think Jake's like a San Francisco 49ers. I was this Utah helmet. And just for context, like, if you can think of a punter's face mask with just a single bar, like that's what they look like. And they're just pure plastic.
I know yeah.
And we'd go out to the front yard, and Jake at this time, like, if you could rewind, and Bryn mentioned this, like, I was genuinely a small kid. growing up. I was never like, my nickname growing up was called Winnie because I was just so tiny. And Jake was just this bigger, masculine, like he just, obviously his genetics kicked in way soon or sooner than mine.
I'm a little bit larger, fatter. Yeah, you can admit that. It's cool.
No. He was bull. He was jacked.
I don't have a body of a Greek god. I'm sorry, dude. You know what I
mean? We'd go out in our front yard and we had these two big bushes in our front yard. And for whatever reason, I always ended up running the ball. Like Jake would either kick it off to me on the other end of the yard or throw it up high from one end. And I'd catch it. And my whole objective or goal was just to get around him to score. And he would intentionally, I feel like, lead me by this bush. And it was supposed to be like 2-hand touch. But every time we got by this bush, it was like, dude, it was like WWE. He would just blast me into this bush, like full on hit stick, everything. I think I must have been decleated like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, good.
And that's always just stuck with me, right? I just that memory of
just the two of you. Just the two of you.
Yep.
Just the two of us. And being the younger brother, I egged it on, right? You just love it.
The funny thing is we would do this at our grandparents' house. I mean, your cousin's house. I mean, we'd bring those helmets everywhere and we would
I love this.
Just play football against each other in the basement all the time. So
that's
so good.
And the best thing now is I watch Jake's boys do it. And it's just so many memories flooding back. But anyway, that's a fun childhood memory. So we were really close. I think, Jake can probably attest this as well. We're all different, my siblings, but we're super close and connected. And I think one thing that's pretty set in stone amongst us is that we have each other's back always, and we always will. So that's kind of a quick snippet on our family. I graduated from East High, like Brent said, back in 2012. Played a lot of sports there. I ended up going up to the U for 1 year before heading out on my mission, which I served in the Belgium and Netherlands mission. It was awesome and by far the best experience of my life up to that point. Came home and returned back up to the U where I graduated and then started dating Bryn. And fast forward to where we are today, we got our beautiful 1-year-old. So it's been quite a fun journey.
I've never met anyone that went to Netherlands and Belgium. You're the only person I've ever met that's done that. It's such a I would love to know more about what it was like. And I mean, what a crazy place to go. I would say, Jason, it's rare that people at this point in your life continue to say how special that mission experience is. Whether people become cynical about it or whether it's just like, whatever, mission. Maybe talk about why that is such a special thing for you.
Sure. I think for context, I think most listeners and everyone's familiar with the mission, but people typically will go to South America or elsewhere in the world where I think there's just a more natural way in finding success, right? And typically people define success on a mission by baptisms. My mission averaged, if you're lucky, 1 baptism per missionary per mission.
Yep.
So there was a lot of door knocking, a lot of just proselyting, a lot of street contacting. It was rare to teach multiple lessons a day. And I think throughout that, you just learn, you learn a lot, right? And then add on the fact that you're in an entirely different culture. You're learning a pretty challenging language. And people are stubborn and very prideful there. And you know what? Like, I loved it because I could be just as direct and frank with them as they were to me. And you just learn a lot going through that. And I was fortunate to find success in my own way. And, I think another interesting aspect of it is, most of my mission companions, just looking back, I think I had like 14 mission companions and only 3 or 4 were actually from the US. I had tons of international companions. So I got a lot of exposure to just diversity, right? And thought and backgrounds and upbringings. And so that just taught me a lot. And I've always held that experience very sacred and dear to my heart because of it.
That's rad. So good, dude. I love that. Very good. Let's talk about, what do you do all day? What's going on? Yeah. What do you do for work? What's your typical day look like?
So like Brent said, I'm currently in venture capital. I've spent most of my career kind of working with what I would call startups or kind of early stage software businesses, both as an operator and now back kind of on the investing side of things. But a typical day for me, if I'm not biking in the morning or up on a trail running, or finding some time to get to a gym, it's making sure I'm home early enough to not miss out on the morning walk or breakfast with my girls.
Nice.
I always try to prioritize that and think it's important. Or I'm sending Bryn off to Pilates, which we've kind of talked about the last couple of days. I work and then throughout the whole day. We're remote, so I find myself home and kind of in the same vicinity a lot, which is also another reason why I typically like to wrap up or kind of begin my evening as I start to unwind or kind of log off of work with another walk, right? Like typically you're going back out for second walk in the day with my girls or taking my dog out right before or after making dinner with them, and spend some time playing and just being with them right before bedtime, and try to squeeze in either a Ted Lasso or maybe a book or something right before heading to bed.
Nice.
That's a typical day.
What are you going to add to that? What did he leave out, Jake? He left something. I said, what did he leave out? He's left something out. Typical day of Jason.
No, I think,
my pre-workout at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
We forgot about that. Obviously that's a given. Every day it's a standard pre-workout lit in the morning. So
just a raw dog powder scoop.
Just 250 milligrams of caffeine. Best way to wake up.
No, I think Jason is he's the epitome of just the grinder, man. He works his tail off every single day, and just kind of watching him throughout his career kind of grow and progress. He's been the ultimate example of me, just someone who is the constant grinder day in and day out and trying to support his family. And it's been fun to watch, and just, his future looks really, really bright, and I'm just excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. Jason, one thing, my wife, she's kind of like the litmus tests in the Peloton, like in our group. She's the only lady, you know what I mean? Like, so when we get home, it's always interesting to hear how she interacts with everybody. And when Bryn says here, he makes others feel comfortable, important, striking up conversations, easily and genuinely interested in their lives. I've heard Kristen say that multiple times about coming home from rides with you, which is so like being kind of the only guy with a partner in the group. It's always kind of an interesting dynamic. So I'm always grateful for the way you treat her in the group. So thanks. Yeah.
It's kind. Thanks, Kristen. She's awesome, man. I just tell you what, they're phenomenal. Kristen's phenomenal, right? I am always just impressed with her grit and ability to just deal with all of us, especially me. So she deserves a lot. She deserves a lot more.
Both you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Your wife touched on a lot of this, but really fun past endeavors. A lot of sports. You learned a lot playing sports growing up, especially probably watching Jake. You want to walk through some of that?
Sure. Yeah, learned a lot. Sports tend to do that to people. Like I said, I wasn't the biggest kid. I just keep mentioning that because I think I grew 9 inches between my freshman and sophomore year. So I grew up, like, for example, I grew up playing on the B team in Little League for football. I spent my first 2 years on the A team and just realized I didn't like it. And I think a lot of the reason why I didn't like it was because I was so dang small. And I was just sick of getting hit around so hard constantly. That was kind of always like something I felt like I had working against me, was just my size. And because of that, I always felt like I had something to prove. Or like I was always an underdog whenever I showed up to anything. And that was kind of a chip on my shoulder to a certain extent. But I never let it get too much so in the way that it disrupted, my camaraderie or kind of relationships with others on the team or even with whoever we're playing against. You mentioned with Jake, like I can still remember countless times going to his games or even throughout high school, and he'll laugh at this, but his high school football coach, Coach Whitehead, at one point when I was before even coming into school or getting into high school, he came over, shook my hand. I said, I'm Jake's brother. And he said, oh, great. Well, can you hold on to a football here? Like handed me a football. It's like, okay, great. You look like you're ready to go. We'll see you in 3 or 4 years. And I think living under kind of Jake's shadow, or call it his legacy, it drove me. Right. And people, I think, would would push against that, right? Say, oh, I want to, create my own legacy or be my own self. And for me, I loved it, right? I think it opened up so many doors and opportunities. And I, again, like just giving a lot of credit to Jake and my other siblings who really showed me the way. Now that said, I, was fortunate to be good at soccer, played some football. I think soccer
the
was
humility.
Don't be too humble, man. Come on, this is about you, bro.
Well, look, I love soccer.
You were dang good at soccer and football, brother. Come on.
Well, soccer came a little natural to me, I think, again, because of my size and just being small. But it's interesting too, Stu. Like Jake was Jake in his own respect in the same sport we played, but I was myself too, right? Like he played offense. He was forward in soccer. He scored all the goals. I didn't play forward. I played center back. I was defense and rarely scored. And we've kind of always flexed between ourselves that way. And that's kind of where I think I found my footing a little bit and kind of who I was. But no, I loved it. I played varsity soccer starting as a sophomore up into my senior year. Surprisingly, I was voted team captain my junior year. I had no idea. And I remember that causing a whole bunch of ruckus amongst the seniors because they were like, only seniors should get team captain. And me navigating that with them and just from like a culture within the team, and then also like earning their trust and confidence was a big lesson to be learned there for me. And we were a pretty good team, right? I think my junior year, we ended up going and losing in the quarterfinals. My senior year, we were the number one team in state, and lost tragically, like in the very opening round of the playoffs in a penalty shootout. So I think I learned a lot through losing in those scenarios. And I'll also mention that football was just, I think, where I learned the most about myself and really about just working hard and not selling yourself short and not underestimating yourself. We can talk about this briefly, but my junior year or my sophomore year, my high school team went 1-8, like barely even had a single competitive game. I played on the sophomore team at that point, and we had so much fun. It's completely separate coaching. At that time, we had kind of a one-off coach. It was his very first year, and it was his last year at the high school. Yeah. And I think it was one of the first times, Jake, you have to also keep me honest here, but they fully separated out like sophomores and JV and varsity. Like they didn't let everyone practice all together.
Yep.
So like I barely got any exposure to this coach at the time, which was great. I just spent all my time with the sophomores, had a blast. My junior year, though, we got this new coach, and he came down and he implemented a whole new offense, kind of changed up the culture. I found myself on the varsity team, not as a starter. I actually started the first 2 or 3 games on the JV squad. And, I think the second or third game, I had a really good game. I think I had like 6 touchdowns in one game. And so that was on a Thursday.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty good game.
Oh, you just wait. I'm gonna add some context to some of this after.
Hold on. That was on a Thursday. And I ran the ball more than I ever had that game. And I was so banged up. And Friday we all suited up for varsity because that was the new thing. Like the coach wanted everyone to suit up. So we all suited up for varsity. And like, I'm so banged up from the game the day before. And the first quarter goes by, and someone who's playing the position that I usually would play or that I play in front of me gets into the game and like has 2 really bad mistakes. And instantly it's like, Cook, you're going in.
Oh boy.
So I'm like, okay, like I have no idea. Like this is my first time playing varsity. I go in, and I think it was one of the first times I touched the ball. It was like a 40 or 50 yard run.
Yes.
And then since then it just like stuck. Like I solidified myself. But I just remember leaving that first game playing and being so exhausted and so tired and so banged up because I literally had played 2 games in a row. And I just remember going back and being like, Dad, like, I don't know if I can play football ever again. Like I am so hurt. I'm so banged up. But anyway, that was really fun. And we had a really good team that year. I think that year we ended up going to the quarterfinals, which is a big difference between going 1-8, right? The season before. And then fast forward to my senior year, and we can dive more into this, but I had no expectation on becoming the quarterback for our team. In fact, I showed up to football team camp, and in our camp down in Price, Utah, I'm sharing a room with my closest buddies, and one of them is kind of the quarterback at the time. It's one of my best friends. And the very first day we show up to camp, and we're splitting up, and it's offense day. And so we're kind of each going into our individual position groups. And I immediately go with my existing position, kind of the running backs. And the head coach comes over and goes, "What are you doing? Like, you're coming with the quarterbacks today." I'm like, I've never played quarterback. Like, what do you mean? He's like, "Oh no, like, you need to come over here right now. You're going to play quarterback this year."
Wow.
And my best friend, right, who is the starting quarterback, is looking at me and like, "Well, what's going on here?" And I had no idea this was coming. And so anyway, went and played quarterback in camp, and him and I competed that whole week. And by the end of camp, the team had voted me team captain. And I think it was pretty solidified that I was going to be the starting quarterback for the season.
Dang.
And that was fun. We ended up going 12-2. I think Brent said it. We went to the state championship, and unfortunately lost in what I would call a Hail Mary at the end.
It's the Britton Covey year.
No, Britton Covey was the following years. This was the DJ Nelson year.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So, but yeah, a lot of lessons learned there. And I'm
who did you lose it? Who did you lose the championship to? Timview?
Logan. We beat Timview in the semis.
But here's where he's not adding though. Okay, so again, he treads very lightly on this, but you know, he's painted a great picture of how he's kind of progressed, right? Junior year, and then he becomes QB right in the senior year. Well, since he's left, because he was such a great QB at East, the QB, what number does the QB wear, Jason, at East?
The number you wore in high school.
Well, what number is that?
Yeah, number 8.
Okay. Were you number 8 in high school?
I was number 8 in high school after my brother.
And the QB today at East this year, what number did he wear?
Yeah, well, I'll just say what Jake's hinting at. So
his legacy has stuck because he changed the game at East, being a QB, and I'll just leave it as that.
Yeah, I going forward, right? The coach, as long as he's there, he came out and said that anyone who plays quarterback on my team is going to wear number 8.
Cool. So. Man, I thought maybe you were going to be retired. No one wears 8 after he left.
That would have been cooler.
No,
Jason left a lasting legacy and just was the epitome of pure leadership and grind, like we talked about. And it shows today still at East when you go there and watch games.
That's awesome.
Well, and I'll just add this. I think, when I really think back to that experience, and my dad tells me this all the time. He goes, Jason, I don't know of anyone else that was 17 years old that would come home after practice for 5 hours, get his homework done. And then at the time, I think this is pretty common now, but we didn't really have like online video to like go watch film. This was the very first year, I think, that we had started to kind of play around with it, which was called Huddle. And so we had this platform to go access game film. And I would come home and I would sit there and I would watch film for 2 hours every single night up until a game, whether it was watching the opponent or watching kind of my own self and just trying to improve. And I think it kind of comes back to that sense of being an underdog and like just feeling almost inadequate to be in that position and ensuring that I was prepared going into every single week. And, when you go into a huddle and you see 10 guys staring at you, most much bigger than you, it'd be very intimidating. So I always try to do my best to just mitigate some of the risk and just the fear I had of underperforming.
Nice. With this podcast, is it possible to include the highlight video that you sent to colleges to be recruited? I know you got one. You better send it over.
No way. It's not good.
Mine's online.
I think mine is online, actually. It's probably on YouTube.
So good. All right, let's talk about, let's do a little endurance sports. Let's swap over here. I love how balanced you are. I do admire it. Like you've got a lot of endeavors that make you very strong, kind of like sneaky on the team, in my opinion. Like I really do think you could open up on anyone. But let's just talk about that. How'd you get into endurance sports and what kind of started your path towards cycling?
I mean, it's the other guy on this podcast with us. I blame Jake. Brent mentioned this, and which I will say it's true. It's the three things, right? It's Jake, it's Creighton Ryder, and I think it's just having lived in the Netherlands and Belgium for 2 years, where there's tons of bikes and all you do is bike. You know, Jake's at the top of my hero list. See, at least I waited like 30 minutes to get emotional. And I always wanted to be like him and do what he's doing. I think that was a common theme in my life. It still is. So when he started getting into it, despite all the jokes and the teasing I gave him for wearing a spandex, just like my brother-in-laws did and still do, I knew I wanted to do it. And it didn't take long for me to follow him. Creighton Ryder, I think his fight against ALS, I just felt immensely motivated. Is kind of how I like to describe it, to ride a bike because of him. I figured if this guy can't ride his bike and that's all he wants to do, like, what am I doing? I can at least ride my bike for him. And also just to support my friend Matt, who I know you guys know we're really close with. So those two like really drove me, I think, in terms of wanting to continue doing endurance sports, and will do it for the rest of my life. My mission, again, the Netherlands, all we did was bike. We biked everywhere. And I still remember this, and Jake, you could probably remember this. My very first week home from my mission, it may have been like the second day or third day home. We had this group of guys around the neighborhood who were like, oh, let's all go ride up immigration. Do you remember this? And it was like our very first ride up immigration. And I had a couple of friends there with me, and, a couple who had also been returned missionaries, like, hey, it's okay if like we need to take it slow, like patting on the back, like, coming back from mission's always tough. Like, you were at sea level at the Netherlands, now you're not. So like, it's okay. Like, we'll take it slow and easy. And like, I think the whole way up, I mean, because I was just conditioned from riding a cruiser for the last 2 years, everywhere I went.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like we were halfway up the canyon. I'm the only one who's still having a conversation with people. So,
and you were wearing your suit underneath you were wearing your suit, like your pants, your coat, jackets flapping in the back.
You know what? That probably would have been better looking than the Verizon kits we were wearing, or the Livestrong, whatever.
Team Radio Shack, Livestrong, whatever it was,
good.
right?
That's so
yeah. So that kind of got me into endurance sports.
Cool. Why did it stick? Like, I know sometimes guys when we talked to Lang the last podcast, it was one of the things I asked him, which was, it's fun at first, like you really excel and you get better and you're getting faster, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, this is kind of a grind. Why does it stick for you? Why do you want to keep doing it?
It's so funny you say it's doing, and Jason Lang says that, because I feel like I'm at that point right now. Like the last, I don't know, 8 years of riding have been just, and those first 5 were just like, foot on the gas pedal. So fun. I was, watching my times up Strava or on Strava, all the segments, tracking them, wanting to get better. And now I feel like I'm at the point in my life where or not the point of my life, just like the point of cycling and doing it for so many years, where it's, what I put here in the docket is just, I love the places it takes me. And I love the people I've met because of it. And I think that's really what's just made cycling stick and will always stick for the rest of my life. I live at the base or really close to the Immigration Canyon. I can't tell you, before ever riding my bike, like how often I was up kind of by the Mormon Pioneer Trail or up by the reservoir up there at the top of Immigration Canyon during a sunrise. And now I think about it, like, what's more beautiful? Like, that's so close to my house.
Yeah.
The Park City Loop, like Guardsman Pass, that was foreign to me. And now it's like, oh my gosh, like that's one of the most beautiful areas. I love the cottonwoods. They're awesome. Like, it just really gives you an appreciation for where we live. And that's really stuck with me, right? Like, I think prior to cycling, it was just, I had no idea all these places existed. Big Mountain, like, no idea. And it's so close and it's so fun. And what a great way to just kind of explore where we live, and fortunate to live by all these beautiful mountains and be surrounded by awesome scenery.
I love that. Very cool. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Are you ready? I don't know if our viewers are going to be able to see this. You see my screen?
Yeah.
It is the immigration segment. This is from Monday. Check that number right there.
Oh boy.
You're almost 500, man.
One more.
When are we doing it?
I don't know. What should we do?
Well, you got to celebrate it in some way.
Just bibs?
Just jersey.
Just jersey.
Dude, I love that. I agree with you. And it's funny you put this here that your favorite local ride. I mean, I'm the same. Like I would do it every day. I would go up Big Mountain every day. It's the best. So
yeah, I mean, that's like my favorite route. I will say like favorite, just like getting out with the team Mondays, like Monday morning immigrations, when you get 20 to 30 folks going up that canyon all in the same direction, working together, like there's nothing better.
Maybe Jace, let's talk for a minute about what the team means to you. Why is it appealing? Especially, I know you talked about Jake bringing you on, but is there any early memories of like when did you first? Everybody's always got that one dumb story that's like, I joined and then I was crapping my bills. It was terrible.
I don't have any crazy story. Although I do think, Stu, one of the first times that we rode together, it was up Lambs.
Ooh,
which I won't forget, which was a good experience. But I think when Jake started having me, I mean, I think I was very shy, right, Jake? Like he would be like, hey, we're going to go ride with the Duoles or things like that. And I'd be like, just let me know when you want to go ride by yourself and I'll come ride with you. Or I'll come join.
It's intimidating, man. I was intimidated too. I mean, I'm sure you were.
Oh yeah. And Jake would say that exact same thing. Like, oh man, I was way intimidated. Like you just need to come and show up. And I don't think I ever showed up to like a group ride for a while, but he started having me join rides with just kind of individuals. Like I remember very clearly riding with Andy Welch. And one of my first times riding up immigration with him, and Jake will laugh at this, dude, the guy was waving at every single cyclist in the canyon. Like going up, going down. It was like full on wave. And like halfway up the canyon, 3/4 the way up the canyon, I'm like, Andy, like, why do you wave to everyone? Do you know these people? And I'll never forget what he said. It was just like, he simply said, look, we're all cyclists out here. Like, we just need to be friendly. Like, why aren't we saying hi to everyone? We're all doing the same thing.
Good, dude.
And like instantly I was like, wow, like he's totally right. Like, why am I not being kind and just waving to everybody? And that was kind of one of the first impressions, I think, of like Duole for me, was just kind of being inclusive and also having each other's back. I can't tell you how many times, I mean, I've been fortunate where I haven't been in any kind of severe crashes, but a lot of close calls. I've been with team members who have crashed, and like, Stu, I know this because Jake told me this. Like when Kristen went down the other week, he told me you flat out just threw your bike down on the ground. You didn't even care, and you ran back. And to me, like Jake would do the exact same thing. I would do the exact same thing for him. I do the exact same thing for anyone on the team, right? Like that sense of just riding with someone or people who have your back. It's pretty incredible.
Very good. We've got some quick questions for Jason. He's kind of already answered a couple of them, but maybe just tell everybody what you ride. Favorite place let's do that. What do you ride?
S-Works Venge, baby. And then the Verge for the gravel.
Okay. Very good. Favorite local ride?
Big Mountain, Park City, Loop.
Okay. Favorite place to travel?
Maui and Lake Powell, probably top two.
Maui. You're going like 3 times a year now. Jeez.
I wish it was more.
Settle down.
We got to go get that calm this year, right?
All right. And then what bike are you currently looking to buy?
I put this in the doc because it's so true. I've maximized the N+1 formula, like for now. I really want a mountain bike though, but that time will come later on.
Nice. Very good. All right. Let's just hear a little bit about how you race, train, you ride. Because I think you do it a little different than everybody. Do you want to talk about that? Your like how you manage it all, how you plan out, how you ride?
Yeah. I'm laughing because for folks who can't see the Google Doc that you share, right? Like you asked the question and my first response is, I don't take it so seriously.
That's it. Just a little bullet point.
I mean,
all right, let's move on. Perfect.
well, the context there is, and I think we just touched on this, like the last 5 years or my first 5 years of riding, and kind of even what Jason Lang said to you, the more serious I've taken it, like the less I've really enjoyed it. I think everybody, I mean, I can't speak on everyone's behalf. I know Jake and I have talked about this at length. the year of the pandemic and when COVID really struck, like that whole 2020 year where everything shut down, races were canceled and everything went on pause. Like that was the most fun summer I've ever had biking, because I felt like there was no stress. There was no mantle. Like we were just doing all these, like, do you remember the vert challenge? Like talk about just a great week where we were coming up with all these creative different ideas for writing, and we were all committing to it. We were showing up, and I just felt like there wasn't any stress of really having to prepare for anything. And you know, I think some people that doesn't help or doesn't work for them, right? Others really want to have something to look forward to and prepare for. And I totally get that. Like I've done that and I still do that. But it's just not the most important thing in my life. It's a part of it. And I think it definitely enables a lot of my life, right? I think even thinking back to some of the prior podcasts with folks, like the mental health aspect and getting out and clearing your head and escaping and having an outlet, I definitely, you know, provides immense benefits with my relationship with my wife, being, you know, having my family and work and things like that. But I also just recognize, look, if I miss a morning, it's okay. Like I'll make up for it another time. There's far more important things to take on right now.
Nice. Great perspective.
Awesome.
Memorable experiences, anything that stands out? You got a couple real good ones here.
Yeah, I think Jake and I should talk about our Lodija experience.
What a day. What a day.
What a day. What a day.
I can't say I've ever been more proud than to post like 11 and a half. Is that what we finished?
Yep. It was a wild day.
Yeah, that was I think the longest day I've ever had on a bike, and the most memorable day, like easily. It gets me a little choked up because what an experience. And I guess we'll talk about it now and dive into it. For those who don't know, this is what, 2021, Jake?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, we're I think Jake and I had, and with others on the team, like Todd, we had a strong group, Ryan Welch, Cha, like we were all in that. Was Cha in that group? No, Cha might've been with you, Stu, in that group.
Yeah, he was.
But we were like very amped and we were prepared. And I think we all had this mindset of, we want to compete. And, you know, I think Jake and I, my first year doing Lodija, we took podium without even knowing. We crossed the finish line at the exact same time, and we ended up driving to Driggs like right after the race. We had no
That's
idea.
Right.
You
we
called me, Stu. Yeah, you called me.
Yeah,
like you're on the podium. I'm like, what? Like
what? Podium for what?
Yeah, we had no idea. And so like this year we're like, okay, let's be intentional. Like let's try to stick with the lead group. Let's try to actually get a podium spot. Like let's really push ourselves and see what we can go do and what we can post. And you know, it was the year where there was just the dreadful rain all that first like 20 miles. And I think Jake had like a tire explosion at one point, or no, it was your saddlebag had burst open.
Yep.
And so we stopped temporarily and we got him all situated. The group kept going, and then we caught back up. And anyway, by the time we hit Strawberry, it kind of dried up, but I think we were already a little bit behind schedule. So we knew, I think we had to, you know, push a little bit, and the group started going, and it was probably honestly in the first couple miles of the climb, Jake went down. Kind of just a dumb kind of happening that he went down. And it was at that point where, you know, you're on a climb. So, and we were, I think you must have been like the third person in the lead. And I think Ryan Welch was right behind you. He went down, and then I was like fifth or right behind Welch, and I avoided it. And like, it was kind of that decision and time period where it was like, do we stop? Who's stopping? Like what's going on? I knew I was going to stop. Like the minute he went down, there was no question. Like I was not going to just leave him there. You know, watching the group continue to carry on, and continue to just like push forward. And I'm sitting there trying to help Jake assess the situation. I have no idea at this point if he's even going to be able to ride again, like finish the race. We're in Strawberry where there's no service. There's no other real help or resources there. We're like assessing first the damage on him. I think his hand is like completely cut open. There's blood all over it. We're looking at his bike. He's got a brake issue. His derailleur isn't working. And I'm sitting there and watching the group just bike away, and it's just me and him. And I'm like, hey, well, I'm going to sit here and we'll figure it out, Jake. Like, let's work together. And I think Jake was trying to be very kind and gracious, and he knew how hard we had both worked for this, and was like, no, just go. And like, there's no way I was going to leave him. And we sat there for a little while, and he got back on his bike eventually, tried to pedal, and I don't know what, it wasn't shifting again, and it just wasn't looking like it was going to work, right? And so you told me to go. You said, look, I'm going to flag someone down. At that point, we had flagged someone down, and one of the kind of support trucks were coming to pick you up. So once I kind of knew that at least someone was like looking out for him, and he was okay, that's when he sent me off. And I remember when he sent me off, I was like, okay, I don't know, it's been almost 10 minutes, like 8 minutes. And I'm like, I've got to absolutely just cram up Strawberry now. So I put my head down, and I don't think I've ever pushed like that hard up that climb, and like just blowing by the people that I could and trying to catch up as fast as I can. I come up over the summit and I start descending, and I'm like not seeing anyone in our group, like not even the back of our group. And so I'm a little worried. And anyway, we carry on. I pull into Montpelier, again, just pushing, trying to get as fast as I can. I'm like, hey, have you guys seen our group go through? And they're like, oh yeah, I think they're like 5 to 10 minutes ahead. And I'm like, hey, Jake's gone down. We talked to his wife and my wife at the time, and they said, yeah, he's coming here. It sounds like we're going to meet him here at Montpelier. I said, okay, great. Well, I'll just carry on. Like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, great, I'm going to have to go do the next 100 plus miles all on my own. So I start riding on, and I think it was after Montpelier, almost on the Geneva climb, where Janie Bowen came driving by and just yelled out the window, Jake's back on his bike. Jake's back on his bike. He's riding. He's at Montpelier or something. He's behind you. And I was like, okay, like it would just happen like that. I was like, I'm going to get to the top of this climb, and I'm going to wait. And so I sat there and waited for a little bit, and I wasn't seeing anyone come. And I think it had been like 10 minutes. And finally, our wives came up, and I saw their car, and I got on the phone with them and talked to them briefly. And we ended up parking right there at the top of, was it Salt? I can't remember if it was Salt or Geneva.
It was Salt, yeah.
Well, it was Salt.
The KOM, yep.
Yeah, the KOM. And we just sat there, and I must have sat there for like 45 minutes, just sitting there, eating some food, hanging in the back of my car. At that point, Stu, I was like, man, I hope when Jake gets here, we're just done. Like, I'm ready to just put the bike on the bike rack. Like, let's just head home. Like, this is fine with me. And I don't know, Jake should probably take it from here, because I think when he started that climb and came over the summit and we saw each other, it was an emotional moment. I was super proud of him for just getting on his bike and continuing to go by himself.
Yeah.
He shows up, and he can barely put his hand on his handlebars because it's all cut up. And he's got, I think, only like 5 gears because his other gears aren't working. His dewader is still broken. I think his back brake wasn't working too. You just had your front brake.
Yep.
And we get to the top, and we're like, after just reuniting, it's like, are we doing this? Like, he's just like, yep, we're going.
Nope. Yep.
I gave you the fist pump. I'm like, let's go.
Nope.
Let's
yep.
go.
Nope.
And the rest is just history, man. We carried on, and that was, I think I pushed him a little bit going into some of the other sections and pulled him quite a bit. And then I remember like that last 50 miles, I was just dead. And looking back, and after we learned that I had COVID, so
oh my gosh,
he tested positive for COVID as soon as we crossed the finish line.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Crossed the finish line and got results back from my wife. It wasn't me. I had COVID, and I ended up finding out that I had COVID. But those last like 20 to 30 miles, Jake pulled me like the whole way in. I think we came in at like 11 and a half hours. I was so dead and so beat. And the best part of that whole day is, Jake will laugh at this too, we got in the car, and I think we were both just like so over our day. We're like, we're driving straight home. Like, this is ridiculous. We're not going anywhere else. We're not going to stay the night anywhere. And we drove home, and watched the Utah Utah BYU football game, which Utah lost, and that was devastating. I think I was going like 125 miles per hour in my Subaru back home. I think we rolled in at like 1 a.m. and I dropped them off, dropped everyone else off. Now keep in mind, Stu, I had barely eaten at this point. So at like 2 a.m. I went to Beto's, because where else do you go? And I got a huge breakfast burrito, and I ate it by myself at like 2:30 or 3 a.m. just sitting in my kitchen. And that was my low experience.
I've forgotten that you guys went home, that you didn't stay the night. in Jackson.
We drove straight home, and I think we got home in record pace. I mean, I've never driven so fast before.
Oh yeah, there's Jake, bandaged hand and all.
Yeah. Jake, anything to add to that? So good. So
no,
good.
I just remember that feeling coming up and summiting that Salt River KOM and seeing Jason up there. Cause I had the same feeling of, I had no idea that Jason had even stopped or, was waiting for me up there. Cause again, I was so far back, and, I just remember I'm like, man, I'm 100 miles in. I'm the same thing. Like, I'm gonna have to finish 100 miles like by myself. This is going to suck. And with a torn up hand, no brake, no shifting, like just, this is going to be a long day. And I just remember peaking that summit and seeing him up there. And it was just, I was like, dude, that's my answer. We're going to finish this. We're going to finish this together. And so we literally just rode together, just, taking polls and that picture you just, showed up on the screen of us crossing together. I mean, you can tell my hand was a little bit limpy and doing that, but that's a memory that I will never forget, is crossing the line with my brother. And, family always comes first before racing in my mind now, ever since that feeling is, it's like, Kristen goes down right a couple weeks ago. It just, it's all about family. It's all about the person rather than, biking. All that stuff is secondary. It's all about the individual and the family. So.
And you know what, I'll just say this last little bit about it. Like in that, I think there was a lot of folks who had achieved a lot that day, right? Like I think Duole just crowded the podium.
Yeah.
And to me, like the biggest champion of the day was Jake. Like I don't know anyone else who would have stuck it out, gotten back on their bike with
for real 4
gears, one hand. Like, and keep in mind, like Strawberry, as you guys know, it's like the first quarter of the race. Like, it's just, and after going through that rain, the whole first, like it was just, he was the champion of the day and always will be in my eyes.
There he goes. He's passing. It's quiet leadership, just humbly passing it to you.
Good man. Good man.
Hey, so we started last time doing a bit about, so I don't know if you guys heard it or not, but I was really inspired by Matt's youngest sister reading Creighton's 21 Rule. I just think that's a really fun exercise, which probably changes, every 5 years. You're probably like, okay, that thing's dumb. That's not important anymore. I really think that this is a cool thing. What do you put, like my 21 rules or my 20 rules? So we did a little bit of it with Lang, but I asked Jason to share 5 or 6 things that would be like takeaways, his rules, wisdom learned. Do you want to work through these? These are awesome.
Yeah. And Stu, it's I agree with you. I took that lesson away from Creighton's kind of celebration of his life. And, even before then I had made a list, and I have a huge list in my notes of just like, here are my rules of life. And this is a couple from them that I just put here. And I felt like they were just good to share. The first one I have here is enjoy to the end. People who are familiar with our gospel, right? Our religion. There's a 5th kind of important principle, which we call endure to the end. I've just always loved to switch out the word endure to enjoy. All things kind of here in this life, I think, come to an end. Everything's temporary, like enjoy it. The suffering, the hard times, the challenges, the good times, just really enjoy it. And that's always stuck with me. And I think that's also helped me keep a really positive and kind of optimistic personality and just outlook. Nice. So I love that phrase, right? Just enjoy to the end. I think Jake shared this in his podcast. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
You did, yeah.
I don't think that needs to be expounded on. Pretty straightforward.
Is that something your dad taught you guys, or where'd you learn that phrase?
I think Jake learned on his mission, and I learned it from Jake, and It's just stuck with me ever since. So
nice.
I did learn this one from my dad. It's more important to do the right thing than to be right. Or said differently, there's nothing right about doing the wrong thing. It's kind of another way to think about it.
That's a great quote.
I love this one. This is one that just has always kind of stuck to me. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And I really do think that has a lot to do with just society today. I think there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of signals. A lot of folks who push others to do things, and a lot of pressure and keeping up kind of with the status quo. I've always felt like it's just important to stand your ground, at least find what you find or believe in what you find true and hold fast to it. And if you don't, you'll fall for just about anything. So I really love that one. Nice. This kind of plays onto the enjoy to the end, work hard, play harder. You can't discredit hard work, right? Like it's so vital. It's so important. We all know this. But don't forget to play hard or play even harder than how hard you're working, right? Like the moments in which we are working, it's to go play. At least that's how I've always thought about it. So I always want to just try to remember that I want to work as hard as I can, but I want to play just as hard, if not harder, when I have the opportunity to, which is also probably a reason why maybe folks like Kristen or others can't deal with me sometimes when I'm playing around.
No way.
These other three I'll just share quick. I just think they're fun.
Oh, yeah?
Maturing is realizing how many things don't require comment. I just love that one. Work in silence. Success is the noise. I think Jake shared that one with me a long time ago.
That's good. Yeah.
And then the last one I just have here is be the most interested at the party, not the most interesting. And what I'll kind of say about that, just to give it more context, if you've seen Ted Lasso, there's a great scene in there when he's throwing darts. And if you're not familiar with it, go look it up. But he makes a quote, and I can't remember who he actually cites the quote from, but it's be curious, not judgmental. I think this kind of follows that same theme. You know, we all go to social events, and I feel like, I mean, I'm guilty of this. I show up to a social event and I'm like, oh, like that person's obviously the most interesting, or they have the most, you know, they're the most popular here. I want to be that person or whatever, and have the attention. I love to flip it the other way around about being the most interested at a party, meaning I just want to go meet people. I want to hear their stories. I want to connect with them. I think that in the longer run is going to pay off way more than being the most interesting person at the party. If that makes sense.
I love that.
So true. So true.
Thanks.
Jake, did you miss any, Jake?
No, I think that's the spot on, man. I mean, what I'm loving about this is just, you know, I thought I knew him. I know my brother, but like this just puts it in a deeper perspective of really seeing how mature and how, you know, how he's grown over the years. It's just special to see. So
we brushed over a few things. Jace, did we miss anything you want to share?
No, I mean, we should have just gone back and cut it right after my wife's introduction. Maybe we still should. You still can.
Okay.
You can
I'll just edit
things,
it.
right?
Yeah, I'll just edit it.
I've got a question for him. I mean,
okay.
How did you get the better genes with the body, man? That's what I want to know.
For real.
Like, how do you just stay shredded all the time?
Dude, it's so obvious. I can't believe you haven't cut on this. I got mom's genes. You got dad's genes.
It's true.
Like, come on. That's the clear, obvious answer. And you know what? Mom would agree and dad would agree.
I know. Just, you know, you just eat whatever you want, and you just have a body of the Greek goddesses. A lot of people say in the thread.
No. I put this in the doc. I just want to look like Spencer Chipping. And then also the other secret recipe, which not a lot of people are aware of, but if you want to be crazy fit, eat a bowl of cereal before you go to bed. You won't regret it.
Just a full bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
No. Mini wheats right now.
Mini wheats.
Trending in my life. I've done the Cinnamon Toast Crunch phase. It's good, but it's a little sugary.
Are they frosted?
You can't do it any other way. Gotta be frosted.
Okay.
So that's why you take lit in the morning. I see. Okay. All right.
I mean, I don't know if that has anything to do with me eating a bowl of cereal at night, but
just kidding. That's so good.
All right, dudes. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Jason.
So fun.
Thanks,
so
dude.
fun.
Thanks, Jake.
Love
Appreciate you both.
Love you guys.